Okay, so we're going to go over simple interest here. Let's check. Okay, good. We're going to go over simple interest. Now, simple interest is interest that no matter how much money is in the bank account, once you first invest it, you calculate the same amount of interest every year. Okay, this is always done by the year with simple interest. Okay, now they're giving you two formulas, this one and this one. Now, realistically, you can solve all the questions with just this one. So I would focus on just memorizing this formula. Okay, I'll tell you what the other one does. This stands for your interest earned. Your interest earned is equal to the principal, so the amount of money originally put in, times your interest rate. Oh, I forgot to write that down as a definition. R is interest rate. Okay, and multiplied by time, how much time has been in the bank. Now this one's a little different. This calculates the total amount of money in the bank. All this will calculate is the total amount of interest earned. These are not the same thing. This one is the principal multiplied by 1 plus the interest rate times time. Okay, and we'll go through a couple questions. So there's one, the very first example you've been given. It says your friend Alan, he's got $3,240. Okay, and he earns 2.4% interest annually. That stands for annually. Calculate. Okay, so the way this interest works, let's just talk about this. We're going to use the first one. A equals P1 plus RT. And the way this type of interest works is, first of all, our $3,240 is our principal, and our interest rate is 2.4. Now you turn that into a decimal. Do you know how to turn that into a decimal?
0.024.
Yeah, that's right, 0.024. Excellent. So that's our R. The only thing we really have to figure out is time. So let's just focus on 1 year. And then in the question, it actually asks us to calculate for 20 after, okay? Well, we're looking for the total amount. How much will be in this guy's bank account? Well, really all we have to do is plug these numbers in. 3,240 times 1 plus R is 0.024, right? And that comes straight out of there. And our time in this question is just 1, right? We're just calculating for 1 year. So what that's going to read is 3,240. 1. Yeah, that's right. It all ends up being 1.024. And when we calculate that, it'll be 1.024 times 3,240. 3,317.76.
Now when it's like that, oh wait, never mind.
Okay. Now, 331776, perfect. Okay. Now, what this is your total amount. That's what we'd figured out. But in the question, they might ask you, well, how much interest was earned over this time period? What we'll have to do is take our new amount and subtract from the original amount to find interest earned. And that's where this formula comes in handy. We could technically just plug into this and that would solve the exact same thing. Okay, but we're not going to. We're just going to do this very quickly. It's simple. We take 331776 and we subtract our original principal. And we're going to get, use our calculator since we already have that amount in, subtract 3240, $77.76. Okay? So that's simple. And the way this interest works is essentially this is what he earns in the first year. He'll earn that same amount every year. So next year he'll get $77.76. And the third year he'll get $77.76. So it does not depend on the amount of money in the bank account, which is very different from compound interest, okay? Let's think about another question here. Now, you had another question written down. This one's a little more difficult. Phil borrows $540, okay? And he does it for 85 days. The interest rate that, because he has a credit card, is 26% simple interest. 26% simple. We're just going to write that down because eventually we're going to learn about compound. How much will he need to pay back at the end of the period, so in 85 days? Well, our total amount with our principal, 1 plus RT. Well, let's figure out what all of these are. What's our principal in this question?
540.
That's right. That's going to be our principal, 540. Okay. What's our interest rate?
26%.
How do I write that as a decimal?
0.026.
0.2,
Yeah.
26, okay? 0.26. And what is our time? Because our interest rate, I should have written this down, sorry, is technically per year. How much time has passed?
85.
Is that a full year?
No.
No. So how do we calculate our time in this case?
You divide it by 365.
That's exactly right. We got to figure out what decimal or fraction of a year that is. So our time is actually going to be 85 divided by the amount of days in a year, because it's 85 days, 365. So that's going to replace our time in this question. So the total amount will be 540, 1 plus 0.26 times 85 over 365. Okay? So in our next one, we get 540, 1 plus, and we're going to calculate what that will be. So I'm going to take my 85 and divide it by 365, and then I'm going to multiply that by 0.26. So 0.060 around it to. So in other words, 0.06. That's what we rounded to. When we add that, we're going to get 540 times 1.06, which will then give us times 1.06. 5724. 57.4. Because it's money, we go to the cent. So, at the end of his payment, he'll have to pay back $572.40. Well, how much interest did he have to pay on top of that? How would we figure that out?
572.40 minus 540.
That's right. And you know what? I don't even need a calculator. I can figure this out quickly. 40 cents to 3. So he pays back $32.40 over the course of 85 days. Make sense? All right. Now the toughest type question. They have out written here for us. Somebody, our friend, invests $4,850, let's say. And it's simple interest at 7.6% annually. We know it's simple. And finally, we want the money to increase. So we want to go from here to here to $8,000. How much time will need to pass? So in other words, what will our T be? Same formula, A equals P, 1 plus RT. What's our principal?
4.850.
Excellent. What's our interest rate?
0.076.
That's right. Time is our unknown. What is our total amount?
8,000.
That's right. So we have an amount here. So this comes into algebra now. We just need to isolate for T. I forgot a bracket here. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to move this 4,850 to the other side. Now this is 4,850 times this. So how do I get it to the other side?
Divide it.
That's right. So it's going to be 8,000 divided by 4,850. It's going to be equal to 1 plus 0.076 times time. Now these brackets on the outside I can pretty much drop off. I don't need them anymore. So let's figure out what that's going to be as a value. 8,000 divided by 4,850. 1.6494. 1.6494. Okay, great. And this becomes 1 plus 0.076 times time. Okay? Well, again, this is multiplication. I need to move the 1 over. So when I move the 1 over, what's going to happen? Yeah, we're going to minus it on the other side. So when we minus it on the other side, what's our value going to become?
Negative.
Well, no, it'll just take off the front 1. So it'll now become 0.6494 is equal to 0.076 time. And I still got to get time by itself. So to move this over, what do we got to do? Divide, because it's multiplied over here. So 0.076 is equal to T. So we take our amount, 0.6494 divided by 0.076 8.544. 8.544. Now here's the tricky part. We know that it was per year, so right off the bat it's 8 years. But there's a decimal 54. Well, that decimal is of how many days? How many days are in a year?
8 years.
Well, just in 1 year, sorry.
Oh, 365.
We got to multiply this decimal by 365 to figure out how many days in it's going to be. Okay? Because we're looking at 0.54% or, yeah, you could say percent of a year. So we do 365 times 0.54, 197, roughly 197 days. 197 days. So, in other words, this person needs to invest for 8 years and 197 days. And they could ask you up to the, oh, we got a bit of a rounding difference from them. But that's essentially the same answer.
Where'd you get the 0.54?
0.54 is here. So this 0.54, because remember time was 8.544. Well, 8 stands for years, and this stands for a decimal or a percentage or a fraction of a year. But years aren't measured in the hundreds, right? Normally you would think, oh, 54 days. But a year isn't over 100. A year is 365. So think of this like a percentage, and we got to multiply. Technically, I should multiply by 0.544. And that might be our difference because they got 199 days. Let's just double check. 365 times 0.544. Yeah, see, and it rounds to roughly 199 days. So we had to find out what percentage of the year we had to use in order to figure out time.
That's